Here's more wrestling news for April 11th, 2023, and we're starting with WWE. And after Triple H became head of talent relations, the game wasted no time in rehiring ex-superstars and signing some new stars. But it's been months since we saw a new name ink a deal. A report came out recently stating that WWE has a hiring freeze in place, which has led to WWE passing on multiple names, including AOP, Nick Aldis, and the recently signed to AEW, Jay White. When Ringside News asked about this situation, though, they were told that WWE passed on talent for different reasons for all of those stars, and were told that a hiring freeze is not in effect. It has been suggested that this current period of time is not seeing new names be signed because WWE wants to focus on the Endeavor deal and their upcoming merger with UFC into one company. With so much changing behind the scenes, the last thing WWE needs right now is for a ton of new names to join, especially given that cuts are expected to both WWE and UFC as part of streamlining efforts. With WWE's deal with Endeavor expected to be completed in the latter half of 2023, it may be a while before we see Triple H sign another wrestler, which will come as good news for AEW and other promotions. WWE isn't planning on inking any deals with former or potential new superstars at this time, but Vince McMahon's company still has a lot of plans in place that are still in progress. When Ringside News asked again about the company's current talent situation, they were told that WWE actually has a couple of people who signed with the company as far back as 2022, but they haven't debuted on television yet. It was also alluded that these signings will be going straight to the main roster, implying that they are names big enough to skip NXT or who have already been established on the main roster before. Of course, Vince McMahon has the power to veto anything right now, and it isn't unthinkable that the chairman would nix someone's big moment for any reason he finds justifiable. WWE have always stated that anything can happen in the company, and while that phrase is usually to promote the exciting, unpredictable programming, that phrase has never been truer given everything happening right now behind the scenes. Over to Raw now, as this week's show saw Alpha Academy take on the Usos in easily the best match of the night. Given how impressive both teams were, it wouldn't be surprising if the match was unofficially a number one contenders bout, with all four men involved pulling their weight. At this point in their careers, the Usos could have exceptional matches with their eyes closed and their arms tied behind their backs, and Chad Gable's phenomenal performance proved that he is an underrated gem on WWE's roster. Even though Otis is excellent in his role, we hope he joins Maximum Male Models sooner rather than later so that Chad Gable's rumored singles push finally happens. The end of Alpha Academy seems to be a win-win-win, with Gable getting a singles push, Otis being able to flex his creative and comedic muscles, and the Maximum Male Models gaining more exposure for their hilarious antics. The Usos have rebounded well from the WrestleMania loss to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, but what did you think of this match? Sound off in the comments. In May, WWE will host their first King of the Ring event since 2002, and the show will also feature a Queen of the Ring also be crowned. As always, WWE is wanting to make a big impact at their upcoming Saudi Arabia event, and WWE could be bringing in one of the all-time greats to help. Zero News reports that there have been early talks of John Cena wrestling at the event, stating that it has been discussed by WWE, but as always, the card is subject to change. While Cena did compete at the first Saudi show in 2018, John has avoided subsequent events due to Saudi Arabia's controversial stance on a variety of topics, and we'll have to see if the 16-time WWE champion dons his jorts in Jeddah. It's safe to say that Vince McMahon has led an interesting life, becoming one of the biggest and most controversial names in all of entertainment. Last year marked 4 decades of McMahon running WWE, and not even his retirement from last year could keep him away for long. Given that McMahon has led such an interesting life, it's hardly a surprise that last month saw the launch of a new biography, Ringmaster, which has proven to be a hit with readers. According to a report by Post Wrestling, the new Vince McMahon biography, written by Abraham Josephine Reisman, has debuted at number 14 on the New York Times bestseller list. With McMahon planning to run WWE and by proxy the wrestling world until he can no longer do so, another book may be happening down the line, but for now, Reisman's tome about arguably wrestling's most controversial figure is proving to be quite the read. We've got news from AAA now, as this week's TripleMania 31 event is supposed to feature Chessman take on Adrian Marcelo, but that match is in serious question. Both the luchador and social media influencer got into an altercation feeding into this prospective bout, but according to Lucha Blog, Marcelo is yet to secure his license from Monterrey's Lucha Libre Commission. Not only that, Marcelo quit his exam within the first hour, and without it, he will not be allowed to compete at the event, but this is really the least of his problems. Last week, a woman accused Marcelo of sexual assault dating back in February 2022, claiming on social media that he became aggressive when she rejected his advances in a car. The allegation continues that Marcelo tried to force himself on her before she escaped, and the woman provided photos of the two together, as well as audio of a shared conversation to serve as proof of their relationship. While Marcelo has not addressed the allegation publicly and no charges have been filed as of this time, Nuevo Leon prosecutors have announced that they have launched an investigation in the latest scandal involving AAA. It wasn't too long ago that El Cuatrero was arrested for domestic violence, and the company continues to work with Alberto El Patron after his sexual assault charges, which were later dropped. While Marcelo and Multimedios insist that he will be at TripleMania in some capacity, what that is at this point is anybody's guess, and we'll keep following this story for further updates. If you follow Kevin Owens on social media, you'll know that the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champion is quite the family man and often shares memories with his loved ones. On Instagram, Owens recently shared a photo backstage with his family, but for many fans, their focus was drawn to one particular member of the Owens clan. Many fans were surprised to see how tall Kevin's son Owen is, as the younger is much taller than his 6-foot father, and there were plenty of comments about his height. Karina, Kevin Owens' wife, took to her own Instagram to comment on the response, and in a deleted post she stated, "The internet freaking out over Owens' height is sending me laughing emoji. He's 6'6", not 7 feet, yet you never know, LOL." Owenstein is obviously of huge importance to KO, and both his son's name and Kevin's ring name are tributes to the tag team champion's favorite wrestler of all time, Owen Hart. As for Owen, we don't know if he will follow in his father's footsteps and enter the ring himself in the future, but standing at 6'6", he already has an advantage if he hopes to be signed by Vince McMahon. After his departure from WWE, Tom Hannafin, aka Tom Phillips, found his way to Impact Wrestling, and fans will be hearing much more of him in that promotion. During their 2023 Q1 earnings report, Impact announced the re-signing of several names, including Kylan King, the Motor City Machine Guns, and Hannafin, so the ex-WWE announcer will be going nowhere else anytime soon. Over the past 9 months, WWE has welcomed back several ex-superstars to its roster, but recently, WWE brought back a name from its past for a behind-the-scenes role. As Sean Ross Sapp was the first to report, Wesley Blake has been working as a coach in the Performance Center in recent memory, and the talented former NXT Tag Team Champion will be working hard to train the superstars of today and tomorrow. We've got an update from Billy Graham now, as the former WWE Champion has been dealing with some severe health issues in recent memory. Graham has spent the past year in and out of hospital, and the WWE Hall of Famer still has some fight left in him. In a video update last weekend, Graham wished fans a happy Easter and spoke about his health issues and what's next for him. We have to give a top of props to Graham's wife Valerie, who was the family's sole income earner at the time, in addition to taking care of him and providing updates on the legend's condition. The past year or so has been incredibly difficult, with Graham losing 75 pounds in just 3 months and continuing to face deafness, infection, dialysis for kidney malfunction, congestive heart failure, and other issues, and our thoughts continue to be with him at this time. In April 2020, The Revival were granted their releases from WWE and had to sign over their downside guarantees in order to leave without a non-compete clause. Since then, their team, now FTR, have been a success in multiple promotions, proving that leaving the biggest wrestling company in the world was the right decision for them. On Twitter this week, Dax Harwood reflected on the 3-year anniversary of FTR's release, and in addition to sharing WWE's 2020 tweet, spoke about believing in yourself even if no one else wants to. This tweet did spark some controversy, with some saying Dax was ungrateful to what WWE gave him, and in a follow-up tweet, Harwood gave a clearer picture. In that tweet, Harwood said he is incredibly thankful for his time in WWE, but wanted to show that the last 3 years have been some of the most rewarding and prove that taking chances can pay off. FTR are grateful to WWE for helping to establish them in wrestling, but the reigning and two-time AEW World Tag Team Champions have had plenty of success post-WWE. And what do you make to Dax's comments this week? Sound off in the comments. Last week, Matt Riddle made his return to TV after spending months out of action due to an attack by Solo Sikoa, which was covering up the original Bros wellness policy suspension. Riddle was on last week's Raw, last week's SmackDown, and this week's episode of The Red Brand, and fans of the former United States champion are in luck. PW Insider has learned that Riddle is expected to be on every episode of Raw and SmackDown, as well as WWE live events now that he's back in the ring following his suspension and stint in rehab. While Riddle didn't compete in the pre-announced match with The Miz, WWE still found use for him on this week's episode of Raw, showing that they have faith in him now that he's back. WWE using Riddle on every show comes at an interesting time, given that WWE will soon be hosting their draft, but no matter what show Riddle ends up on, expect to see plenty of the original Bro. And we're ending today with WWE, and as we reported earlier, the company has talent under contract that have yet to debut, and one name reportedly on that list is Eric Young. Fightful report that Young has been under contract for some time now after leaving Impact Wrestling in November 2020, and we'll have to see what's next for the Sanity leader once he is brought back to TV.